I'm coming on a little bit early to give people some time to come on. So, alright, I'm coming on early uh, to give people some time to come on. So, I'll at least go ahead and start this and hold on here. So that way people can have time to get on, but I'll always go ahead and start this off here while we're waiting.
All right, gentlemen. I want you to repeat after me just how I do it. Ready? Your turn. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you Mr. Charlie Pope Let's bring it on home.
All right, I see two people on. If anybody else comes on, cool. If not, they could watch the video recording of it. So I'll go ahead and start. For all those who don't know who I am, My name's Keith Hoover. I am the owner and founder of Weather Chasers. I started that this year. Um, I cover East Central, Northeast, and North Central Kansas. And I'm thinking about, eventually, uh, continuing making make it a little bit more nationwide, but we gotta start off somewhere. Um, I've been chasing since 2014 when I was living out in the Denver area, and I started chasing uh, during the outbreak out there in 2014, and I've been doing it ever since, and loved it. Like I've said before, um, this will not certify you or grant you, you know, give you the NWS blessing to be a spotter, you know, but this is at least a step to help you. Uh, it's going over the med ed uh, spotter training course. Okay, I put the link in it in the description. All of them are free courses to take online, and they're actually pretty fun. So I'll go ahead and go to the next one here. What will I cover in this talk or training? Well, like I said, I'm basing this off of the Skywarn spotter training on MedEd. We're going over the role of the Skywarn spotter and the Skywarn spotter convective basics, which are uh, two sections in the main course on ResMed. I'll also be going over how radar works and how to read one. And I'll also briefly talk about what good radar apps and software you can get. There's a big plethora of them out there, but each chaser or spotter has their own uh, preferences. I'll give you my preferences, and if you guys want to try it, that's up to you. If you want to try something cool and it works for you, fine with me. So I'm going to start off here. The role of the Skywarn spotter. Well, let's take a look at the history here. Besides today, in the United States, there are over 290,000 trained Skywarn spotters serving their community. Even some famous people too, like Michael Jordan. I'm trying to think of some others, but there are some very famous people that are Skywarn spotters. All right, let's take a look here. In the 1940s, they were originally placed around uh, points of interest or like very uh, uh, valuable places, mainly around munition plants, where lightning was always a bad thing. Because if you know anything about munitions, lightning and munitions don't like each other. There were they were originally very loosely organized groups. In 1942, there were about 100 spotter networks existed at that time. In 1945, the number of spotters had more than doubled, which is actually pretty good, which is pretty cool. In the 1950s, sorry, in the 1950s, let's take a look here. 1952, the NWS, which is the National Weather Service, began issuing forecast products to the public that alerted both the public and spotters to areas of potential severe weather, which is actually pretty good. And because of this, this helped increase the number of reports, which in turn helped that NWS put out more warnings and actually issued warnings with longer lead times. I'm going to continue on here. The next ones I'm going to kind of skim through. You could do the history on these if you're interested. April 11th, 1965 was the Palm Sunday tornado outbreak. That was in Indiana. There were 47 tornadoes in 6 states. That's the whole outbreak. In Indiana alone, there were 10 tornadoes, killed 137 people, and injured 1,200. And as you can see with the map there, they were released EF4 or above, well, EF3 or above. Yeah, with the spotters' help, they were able to put out a longer war, like a more of a heads up, because it would have been the deaths would have been highly substantial at that point. And if you remember any of that, please feel free to go ahead and hop on in. The next one is kind of near and dear to the people that live here in the Topeka area. It was June 8th, 1965. There was many things about this tornado here. It was the Topeka tornado. It was the first time that radar was actually used to spot a tornado. And also with the help of Skywarn spotters as well, which, did give more ample time for people to, take cover. Let's take a look at the path there. The path, you can see it went pretty much well straight through the city. There's a history about Burnett's Mound that you see there to the southwest. The story goes that Burnett's Mound, which is named after a famous Native American, was to protect the city from tornadoes. Well, as you can see, obviously, it didn't help. My mom it went like 2 blocks away from my mom. And my mom missed it, so my dad, he remembers it as well. But there were only 17 deaths. There were 550 injuries. It was on the ground for 26 minutes from 7:03 to 7:29 p.m. Central Standard Time. It went 22 miles. It ranged anywhere from a quarter mile to half a mile, and at that time, it was the most costliest tornado in history, with over $100 million worth of damage back in 1966. Nowadays, that's pretty close to 200 million. So, my next one, if you remember this, you know the story about this, and you know which one I'm going to talk about next. This one was the El Reno tornado, May 31st, 2013. It was rated EF5, and it is the biggest in recorded history. It had a max width of 2.6 miles across, and this one also taught us a lot. That, you're always told, tornadoes will move from the southwest to the northeast. Well, this one, as you can see, kind of didn't follow that. That's what caught a lot of chasers and spotters and everybody off guard, because it was starting to kind of take a little bit of the classic path until it started heading east and do everything else. That was the radar signature. You can see the hookup go right there on the left hand side. It was pretty big. I was not there, obviously, but it works. This one, this one was actually last year, May 28th, 2016. This was the Lawrence Thunderwood tornado. I was actually down there for that one. It was interesting. You could actually, even a mile away, you could feel the rumble. You could hear the rumble, and you could feel the ground shake. But there's the base velocity signature of it in its early stages. It was interesting, but it did follow the classic path from the southwest to the northeast. There's the path right there. At each stage, you can see that there. I was the first one on scene to the first 3 buildings that got hit. 2 homes, a daycare, which had 6 kids, 2 adults, not even a scratch on them, and a house a little bit further down the road. Everybody was fine. When I put out my video for this year, you could hear the whole story. One of the many things that we do are reports. I don't like to be a Nazi about it, but it is very important because if not, the NWS will take your report, but they'll be kind of like, huh? What's going on? What's happening? So I'll help you with making reports. Reports aren't that hard. Okay, it's pretty easy, self-explanatory. You'll start off, when they answer, hi, this is John Doe. Say who you are, so that way they know who they're talking to. And if you have a spotter number, which that would be up to your WFO to give you one, as long as everything is kosher with them. Give them your location. Okay, you're at 3rd and Main. All right, so that way they know where you're at. And you also want to give them the location of the severe weather. You're at 3rd and Main, about 4 miles to the northeast. There was ping pong size hail. Okay, you tell them definitely tell them what type of weather it is, whether it be hail, really, really heavy rain. Okay, whatever, tornado, funnel, rotating wall cloud, something you want them to know. And then, how long did it last? Sorry, what time you noticed it? Okay, and there we go. How long it lasted. I kind of got myself asked backwards. Okay, so that way they know when it started, how long it lasted before it moved on, and then of course contact information, so that way they can contact you if they have any other questions. Another one that we highly, highly emphasize is safety. Safety, 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 safety. I cannot emphasize that enough. Safety. Okay. Because if you get caught, it's kind of in your hands pretty much. Okay. Safety is number one priority. Always. And with that, we go by the acronym ACEs, which is awareness, communication, escape routes, and safe zones. Okay. Awareness means that you should constantly observe the situation around you. So that way okay, I got power lines down. I got trees all over the road. I've got black ice. Okay. You're always continuously monitoring the risks around you. And it could also save your life, especially in rapidly changing weather conditions. For the C, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. We have communication. Always let people know where you are at on a regular basis, and having multiple lines of communication available to can keep you and others safe from hazards. Your phone, walkie-talkie, a CB, if you're a ham operator, your ham radio. Many different ways to get out for communication. E is escape routes. If you're caught outside and a tornado is coming down, or like you see a tornado, always have a second escape route. Because as I'm going to one, I'm looking to see what's around me using my awareness. Okay, if this tornado is coming up to me from the northeast and it's going to the southwest, okay, well, what roads do I have that will get me to the south and the east? Not only one, but two. Hell, you could even make it 5. More the better. Always, always have an escape route planned, even if it's on the fly. And finally, you got safe zones. Obviously, that is quite explanatory, like tornado shelters, and so on and so forth. One thing with ACEs, remembering ACEs will actually help save your life if you ever if it ever comes up to that. Now now what I do, Reed Timmer, some of us others do, where we go out and actually find it. The National Weather Service does not condone it because that's on you. But you could always sit at home and oh wow, hey, there's a rotating wall cloud. Maybe I should call it in. There you go. And I think I missed that one about. Let me see here. I think I missed that one about what the uh, parameters are for, or what the NWS considers. No, I did not. All right. Severe thunderstorms are vertically developed clouds that has thunder and lightning and rain. They grow very tall and produce copious amounts of rain. Here's what I was looking for. I got a little bit ahead of myself. A severe thunderstorm. A severe thunderstorm, well, how the NWS considers a thunderstorm to be a severe thunderstorm has to meet certain criteria. Hail 1 inch or more in diameter. Wind speeds of at least 58 miles an hour. You could kind of guess, but if you see like 1 inch branches flying, snapping off of trees and flying everywhere, maybe 2 inch, it's pretty bad. Just like like a Monday morning here, we had 75, well, anywhere from 70 to 90 mile an hour straight line winds. It did a lot of damage. So that was those were actually considered severe thunderstorms. And of course, your tornadoes has to have one or all of them to be considered as a severe thunderstorm. The structure of a thunderstorm. There's the anvil. It's probably named for like blacksmith's anvil. If you've seen one, it could be pretty impressive, actually. It is the uppermost part of the thunderstorm. Pretty much, it'll grow to a certain height before it can't go any further. It'll start moving uh, horizontally with the ground. But yet there is also uh, uh, I call them toppers, but you'll see them come up over. Okay, that's actually pretty cool. You could be underneath the anvil, even though the rain is miles away. Rain, hell, precipitation is miles away. But yet it can also be smaller than the rest of the storm itself. It could also show its maturity. If the edges are more crisp, it's still going strong and it's probably getting stronger. But sometimes you can't really rely on the anvil to tell you the maturity of that storm, because the anvil, with being so far up, has a delayed response to the changes of what's going down on the bottom. Here's a picture of an anvil. I could never pronounce this, but I'll try it. Manhattanus clouds. These are actually pretty cool. I've seen them. They're Latin for mama, meaning udder or breast. They're pretty cool. I'm not going to go into the specifics because they don't cover it on how those actually form. You could take that, and if you take any other courses on med ed, you'll go over it. But it does form underneath an anvil. As part of one of the most important things of a thunderstorm is the updraft. The updraft is the lifeblood of a thunderstorm. It needs it, or else it'll just fizzle away. It supplies warm air and moisture to the thunderstorm. The updrafts can be vertical or tilted. You could tell by, if you look at the cloud itself. If it looks like it's tilted, obviously you have a tilted updraft. If it's straight up and down, obviously a vertical. The base of the updraft is typically precipitation free. We also call it the rain-free base. The rain-free base is usually where you will see your tornadoes at. Tornadoes, funnels, where you'll see those at. Now, so speaking of funnels and tornadoes, this first one, don't be this guy. Although, yes, it is a gust-nado. Don't be this guy, please.
Alright, I've just passed after all the station and I've just been watching this Willy Foreman. Check that out, that is one of the big ones I've seen a few years. That is absolute, dude. You will say that's right there. Far out, that is ground. I just run into this thing. Jesus Christ. That is huge. That is absolutely huge.
And definitely don't take a selfie, please. course, that's what you get for Aussies. If you're going to go out and do our stuff, never do that, definitely. And never be like the next one. But it's Sean Casey, he's in the TIV 2, and the TIV 2 is actually designed for something like this. Other than that, stay away from it. You've probably seen this on news stations. I don't even remember what tornado this one was. But somewhere during all this, the side door happened to pop open. The reason why their ears are popping is because of the difference in pressures. And I hope everybody knows how a tornado is formed. You see all that debris and everything else was flying right past him. All right, so continue on. Gustnadoes, otherwise known as dust devils, is a vertical. No, I needed to edit that, but it's a vertical column of spinning air. That usually happens on clear days with difference in temps and temperatures. Okay, funnels. Funnels, they can be a precursor to a tornado, but not all the time, because sometimes it can be just the funnel itself and it goes right back up. Here in a minute, I'll cover what the difference between a tornado and a funnel is. One thing that a funnel does not have is a debris field. Tornadoes. Obviously, it's a rotating column of air in contact with the ground, extending from the bottom of a convective cloud. Okay. Depending on the size of the tornado and where it is located, there may be a debris field. Here's what most people get confused with, or you get these high-strung law enforcement rookies. Oh my God! I see a tornado. Is it on the ground? No. Do you see like a dust bowl underneath it? No. Then you've got a funnel. The the physical cloud itself does not have to touch the ground. Just as long as the rotating air actually comes down and you see dust or debris come up. As long as you see that funnel above it, you got a tornado. It's on the ground at that point. There's also a lot of lookalikes. You got Scud. I call it SLC. You know, a lot of us call it SLC, scary looking cloud. They're usually harmless, and they usually form from high humidity at the surface. Okay, a shelf cloud. Okay, a shelf cloud shows the outflow, indicates the outflow of a thunderstorm. If you've seen some of my pictures, you've seen you've seen a couple of shelf clouds. They very it's very unlikely that they support a tornado because you need warm inflow to actually get something spun. One of the ingredients is warm inflow. If it's blowing, if the wind is blowing out, you can't really get a tornado or any type of spinner. Wall cloud. They often, but not always, are precursors to tornado development. Sometimes they could just sit there and look, ooh, big bad and mean, and not produce anything. Or you have a rotating wall cloud. If you see a wall cloud, I wouldn't really report that in, because if it's just hanging there, you know, it's not producing anything, it's not doing anything wrong. Just sit there and watch it. Watch it for a couple minutes. If you see spinning, well then yeah, you got yourself a rotating wall cloud. Okay. A wall cloud is a lower portion of the storm cloud base appearing underneath the updraft. It is typically circular or oval shaped. So just sit back and watch it. If you see rotation, call it in that you have a rotating wall cloud at your location. And it's been spinning for it's been rotating for such amount of time. Follow the report basics that I had talked about earlier. So don't just go calling in, oh, I got a shelf cloud. Cool. Well, I got a wall cloud. Is it rotating? No. Well, you don't have nothing. Hell. It's always ideal to measure hell with uh, with a ruler or tape measure, but you'll always if you do use ruler or tape measure, always measure uh, along the largest dimension. Otherwise, you're just looking at the radius of it, from one side to the other. But not all of us have a ruler or a tape measure, so cool. It's not really required. Use something standard, like here you got a baseball. That would give an idea, because since most since 99% of baseballs are the same size, and you compare it to a hailstone like this, that could give them a rough idea on how big it is. For smaller ones, look at like a penny, a quarter, dime, and place it up against one, and then take a picture. Don't, I can't say don't, but it's really not ideal to hold one in your hand saying, ooh, this is 3 inches. Well, or sorry, this is a inch. Well, you know what? Compared to uh, your hand and maybe your next door neighbor's hand, be a different size. So it's always good to use like a baseball, tennis ball, something that is a good reference. And there's your charts. Here in Topeka, it was either here in Topeka or down in Wichita. A kid actually called hail in, so we have a new size of hail. We have Oreo cookie size. I wish I had that animation, but hey, it is a standard size. So, you can use, hey, I got a Oreo cookie size hail. They'll get a laugh out of it, but they get the idea. Floods, I didn't put it in here, but floods, because I'm looking at this picture here. It's a picture I took last year. It is of the Soldier River here in Topeka. This river is actually usually about maybe good foot deep, usually. And you can see it's about a quarter away up the, 3/4 of the way up the dike. But anyway, with floods, don't be stupid. Don't go through them because it only takes like 6 inches of water, something like that, to move a vehicle. Uh, so it's not wise. That's the reason why we say if you see a flood, turn around. And turn around and go the other way. But you could still report in, saying, hey, there's a flood. There's water going across this road where I'm at. It's a foot deep and it's doing some damage and whatnot. Because that is one thing they will ask. Doesn't matter if it's rain, hail, wind, uh, floods, heavy snows. Is there any damage? So I said I would also do a quick spiel on radar basics. The radars they use waves to see what's inside of a storm, or being a thunderstorm, snowstorm. Okay, and what's reflected back is what's bounced back to the radar from the rain, the snow, the hail. Okay, you look at a radar, your typical radar, and they have uh, the base velocity of it. You'll see green and red. Green means that the wind is moving towards the radar, and in turn, going away from the radar, you have the red. to really measure, if anybody is on here, please quote me if I'm wrong. To measure the wind, you want to measure what it is. What you want to measure the red, or you measure the green and the red, and you do subtraction, addition, whatever. Okay. I don't know why I chose this one, but it looks pretty cool from time to time. Well, it looked pretty cool when I was making it. But anyway, from what the radar sees to what you see on your screen, always expect a slight delay. Sometimes it could be 10 seconds, sometimes it could be 30 seconds, sometimes it could be a minute. But definitely expect some type of delay. And depending on your program Apple program that you use, it'll tell you how old that image is. If it's red, well, guess what? Something's wrong with the radar. Pick one that's another one in your area. All right. There's a cone of what the radar sees. It does not see anything past, I think it was like 150 feet or 1,000 feet. But that part is what the radar cannot see. Besides, it cannot see what's right above it. But that's where they rely on spotters down here on the ground to say what's happening, because they can see what's happening inside of the system itself with the radar. But they could sit there and say, "Oh, it looks like there's a tornado here. Do we have any reports from the ground?" So we are pretty much the eyes and ears on the ground for NWS. Well, let me take a closer look here. Here's what I say. Okay, there's what I say. Green over here on your left hand side is wind going towards the radar, and red is going away. Deeper to red, deeper to green tells you how fast it's, like the intensity of it. This is one. If you've followed me around, this is one of the ones This program is one of the ones I use. It's GR2 Analyst. If you don't remember, you could always go back and take a look at some of the posts I put on there, and it'll tell you how you can use it. Because I remember I did a live session on how to use it. It's pretty cool, actually. It's pretty cool. And you can see the hook echo in that one. You got your your rain-free base right there at that hook, which what we call a hook signature. You got your inflow coming in along the bottom there. I can't say the bottom. Along the bottom, okay, right there in green, coming up, and you got that's your front draft. That's your intake flank. Back here, to make it all look nice and pretty, you got your what we call RFD, rear flank downdraft. Okay, which is creating that hook echo. And right there would actually be your rain-free base. We will sit right up, look a little bit to the southeast of that hook echo. I'd probably be sitting about maybe 2 miles away from that hook echo. That would be a safe place as long as I know of a route to the south and to the east if I have to get out of there. Don't be someone I know. I'm not going to name names, Pecos, but yeah, don't go north and west because look what you're going to be running into. You're going to be running into rain. And plus, you have a chance of what we getting caught in what we call the bear's cage. That's not a good place if you're not in the TIV or the Dominators. With some apps too. I've gone through all the ones that I use, but like I said, this one is GR2 Analyst. The other one I use is GR Level 3. It's the same, pretty much the same thing, except for you don't get all the cool bells and whistles, getting 3D pictures of the clouds or cross sections of the clouds. But it's pretty cool. It works. I also use uh, I still also use radar scope. That is widely used amongst us in the chaser community. Uh, I also check with my buddy Paul Goodard. He uh, he helped develop Radar Omega. I've used it a couple times. It's actually pretty cool. I'm just trying to get used to it. There is also My Radar. It's pretty cool. Out of all those that I use, 3 of them you can get on your phone. There being what was it? I know one's Android, the other one is Apple. I think it is. I'm an Android guy, so I don't know about a lot about the Apple guys. But those are free uh, apps you could get on your phone. The only thing you would have to pay for is if you want like a subscription, or, all the other cool bells and whistles. Like I know with Radar Scope, one that's yours is like $15 a month. You get all the cool fun stuff on it. So there's a lot of programs out there that works. Just ask one of us. See which ones we like. Because each one of us we have our own different tastes. We have our own different ways of doing things. Like I know people that will use HRRR. I know people that will use was it Pivot Weather, something like that, or they rely on the Weather Channel app. They rely, it's all whatever helps you. Okay, whichever one you think is works for you. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and ask, is there any questions? Don't be afraid to ask any questions. You can either get me, you can either ask me. If not, ask your local NWS office as well. And like I said, I will emphasize this again, like I said in the beginning. This was not to get you fully trained and certified as a Sky 1 spotter. You will have to you'll have to get with your local weather service office and see what they require, because each WFO is different. So like I said, I've added the link in the description to this session for MedEd, and those are good. You start off with those two classes. They're all free. They're all online. Do that because maybe sometimes your local WFO wants you to do that and attend a spotter talk that they hold. But and plus there's also some cool other stuff on there as well. I've completed a lot of courses on it. But with that being said, I'll go ahead and start this video. It's from Pecos Hank. Pecos Hank is, if you don't know who Pecos Hank is, he's also a storm chaser. He's also a meteorologist. He's a good guy too. But anyway, I'll go ahead and stay on here when this music video is done. I'll go ahead and sign off. I'll just be watching for any questions.
Let's take a drive under the moon. Let's take a drive under the summer sky. Let's take a drive under the moon tonight. Let's take a drive under the moon. The sleeping small towns will pass by. Like the months you've been away, let's catch up our lives in the hours till day. Let's take a drive under the moon. Let's take a drive under the somber sky. Let's take a drive under the moon tonight. Let's take a drive under the This old highway is lost in time. How far must we go? Let's forget the past and try a new road. Let's take a drive under the moon. Let's take a drive under the somber sky. Let's take a drive under the moon tonight. Let's take a drive under the moon, yeah. Let's take a drive under the somber sky. Let's take a drive under the moon tonight. Let's take a drive under the moon.
All right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off unless there's any other questions. Please don't be afraid to drop me a line, message, whatever. So have a good night and be safe out there. And there we go. So have a good night.